Hey folks, this is Wistful Deal Kill, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another movie review. Honestly, I'm pretty surprised by this here because I just got back from seeing Toy Story 5, baby, and I mainly went into this film curious to know of what Pixar was planning on to do here with this, and plus, it looked, interestingly enough to go ahead and see compared to some of the other films, and such. So I figured to go ahead and check this out, and honestly, I'm gonna give it to them. I'm honestly surprised by them. It was very good. A lot more good than I really expected, honestly. It's definitely way better than Toy Story 4. I really do not care much for Toy Story 4. It's just weird. It was really not needed, and yeah, the more I look at Toy Story from 4, the more I just give it a thumbs down, honestly, because it's just not needed, and I just didn't really like it too much. But with this here, with Toy Story 5, I gotta say they definitely did a major improvement with this here. Buzz isn't just some stupid, moron or whatever. Well, he keeps pressing his button to listen to his quote inner voice. That's completely gone. Um, there's some of the characters that do come back for like a short little bit. Obviously. There's like the little plush. There's the plushy folks or whatever that show up a little bit, at the beginning and such, and Woody does come back in again to, help out with the gain again and everything. But yeah, this film, it was honestly better than I expected. So if you folks obviously know, if you've seen the trailers of it or whatever, it's basically about, well, Bonnie gets this, lily pad, because her parents decide to make her into an iPad kid, God forbid. But what I really like about this too, and I'm gonna get into spoilers soon here too as well. But what I mainly liked about this film is how, and at first, what I was worried about was I was gonna become a whole, that it's very because it is important to play, but like how it's gonna turn into, it's super important to play. And just to avoid tech and stuff, because tech rots your brains or some crap. This isn't really, fully the case on that. It's not a whole, us against them or really per se of how, like, toys are better and superior than tech or whatever. I see it personally more as, like, those pros and cons to each per se. And I'm kind of glad that there's some kind of more middle ground with this film instead of like a versus type deal with like, new stuff bad, old stuff good, or whatever per se. There's no characters in this film, and oh my god, there's way too many freaking characters now. Like I can't even keep track anymore. There's so many freaking damn side characters. Like it's ridiculous. But yeah, I will definitely say this is much better than Toy Story 4. I did not like Toy Story 4 after I saw it, and I don't know, I just don't like Toy Story 4 that much, but luckily with this one here, it is, much better. I don't know if it's better than Toy Story 3 or not still, but overall, this is definitely a step improvement compared to Toy Story 4. Toy Story 4 is just unnecessary and not needed, but what's nice about Toy Story 5 here, what I like about it is how it's kind of more like kind of ground in a way, per se. It's more of like, I guess kind of a, I don't know how to put my finger on it, but it's like it's not so much that tech is bad or whatever, but more so of what you kind of get out of it and you choosing what to go from there. I suppose. But yeah, this film is definitely pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and touch spoilers now here with this, honestly. But yeah, I overall liked the film. So now let's get into spoileries here with this. Let's get into spoilers here, folks. So there is a side plot of all of these there's a side plot of like all of these buzzes, and it's like this these new buzzes, these new high tech Buzz Lightyears and stuff. And the opening, honestly, it sucked me right in because there's like this one Buzz who wakes up and he finds all these other buzzes, laid down and stuff. So he wakes them up, and then they wake the other buzzes, and then all of these different Buzz Lightyears, wake up and everything. And then they're like stranded on an island. So they build a freaking makeshift boat, which I do not know how, honestly, that can exactly work compared to the ocean. I mean, I could really digress, but anyway, I did find the buzzes, kind of cute and interesting because it's like a whole army of these buzzes, and one of them notices the glowing star up in the sky. So they all, follow the star all the way up to, you know, Jesse and everything. But yeah, so with Toy Story 5, this is mainly Jesse's story, which I have no problem with at all, honestly. Actually, I kind of liked that. The one little downside that there is that there is way too many fucking characters now. There is so much characters here, like legit. Mr. Potato Head, like he has like one line, and his line wasn't weird. His voice was a little bit weird. I do know the main actor. I forgot his name, but he like died at some point, along with the actor that plays Slinky, the Slinky dog. I know that actor died too as well. Unfortunately, but like literally, because all of the characters are like in Bonnie's room, right? Until the lily pad shows up, and then they literally get set into a box, and they kind of just stay there for the rest of the film in the garage, just chilled there and everything, for like the rest of the film. And we follow up with Jesse and Bullseye, and there's like these new characters and stuff. I do like some of the old tech that it brings up, with and stuff. Like there's like this flip phone. I guess, yeah, this flip phone toy or whatever, which I guess could be a toy per se. I personally just see it as like, it's just like a flip phone, whatever. It's like a dinosaur hippo flip phone or some shit. And then there was, what was that one character was called? It was like this digital, toilet paper character thing or whatever. He was an interesting character. He was kind of goofy because he was running low on batteries or whatever. So Jesse gets him new batteries, and he gets all energetic and shit. I find that a little silly and goofy. There's like this new little toy camera character as well. So I did like some of the older tech toys and stuff. But yeah, there's way too many fucking characters. I'm gonna say it right now. Pixar needs to stop adding in so many characters. Even though there wasn't like, yeah, as much. There was only like total of 4 new characters or whatever. But like there was so much to keep track of. Like I can't even keep up anymore of how many characters there is, honestly. But yeah, so we follow up with Jessie, right? And she actually ends up at her old home or whatever, back when Emily, I think that's her name, yeah, Emily, Jesse's first owner or whatever, was at and stuff. I felt that was, interesting, touching or whatever. There was one honest to God moment that I did not expect to cry, and it really did, it made me tear up, honestly, and I was really not expecting it from this film because there's this really sweet scene where Jesse is by, the tree and stuff, and, with the tire swing and everything. And so, anyway, she finds this, this old lunchbox, and it turns out that Emily, the child that she had or girl that was with or whatever, she named her daughter after her doll that she had. And I just felt like that was very, wholesome and touching, honestly. Especially with back in Toy Story 2. Holy shit, time flies by. That was like before I was freaking born or some shit or whatever. Yeah. But like back in Toy Story 2 where Jessie, told Woody about her backstory and everything and how things just changed over time and everything. It kind of touched me, honestly. And she's seeing that same thing with Bonnie, with this Lily tablet here, this Lily pad iPad here, and what I also like about it is that while Lily Pad, yeah, she's like an antagonist, but she's not really like a villain per se or anything, and that's what I also kind of like and I feel like is an overall improvement with this film here is that it's not like, Louis the main villain or whatever. It's just more so of she's doing what she thinks is best and what she thought is, right and everything. And I did like how they touch a little bit on, you know, not like, completely social media, but like, being connected and everything and how, you know, just with Bonnie, she just wants to, try to connect and stuff. And it kind of touched me in a way, honestly, because, there's like a scene where she shows her toys and the kids just aren't interested because they're just on the, pads or whatever. And I kind of felt like that, honestly, in a way. Not that it was really like that for me, too, but, that sense of being, obsolete and kind of outdated and kind of the whole pressure of having to be connected and everything and having to be up to date with speed and everything. I feel like that's honestly kind of, a little bit important and stuff because with me personally, I just don't really bother so much being constantly up to date and connected with everything with news or whatever because I just kind of can't, and I kind of got my, own life and stuff and everything. And plus, I just can't live like that, honestly. Not anymore. And so I feel like, with that whole thing of Bonnie constantly trying to, and yeah, it's all kiddie games or whatever, but still, nonetheless, it made me think of my it made me think of my nieces and nephew and stuff, because they're on the tablet and phones and stuff as well with their own devices, and it kind of just kind of touched me in a way, honestly, because with Bonnie here, she's just trying to you know she's trying to keep up with the world per se, or rather trying to keep up with the other kids. And the fact that it almost just felt kind of shameful to play with toys or whatever instead of video games or whatever. It just seemed very harsh and very grounded in a way, honestly. It kind of hits at home with that way, honestly, because and it's honestly true, but I do like how Tech wasn't really so much the villain per se, it was just more so of just how things change, like the industrial revolution and stuff, it kind of gave me that sort of Red Dead Redemption 2 in a sense, some way, of like how, the world's kind of changing, things are changing up and stuff, and things are just, shifting over, and, we just don't, it just, world just doesn't fit in for little young folks like us anymore. We're kind of becoming obsolete and outdated now, in a way, I guess. I don't really know too sure, honestly. But yeah, but I really like how, it kind of came to be, well, because eventually the lily pad just kind of lets go of Bonnie, because she felt, because the way she just sees it is just always, being connected and stuff and everything, and that's what's best. But once she saw how she, I guess it wasn't really her herself, but rather just kind of showed Bonnie, the main messages of her friends or whatever, or contacts or whatever, and how that really, you know, hurt Bonnie. She just kind of just lets Bonnie go, and kind of sees that, maybe, this kid's just, more for toys and stuff, and she ends up feeling shamed of herself, and I kind of like how, again, it's not so much toys against tech, it's more so of like tech toys and old fashioned toys and how they just kind of, you know, find a middle ground in the middle somewhere, and I personally, I really like that, honestly, because if it was going to be a whole, you must have toys or whatever because iPad is the bad or whatever, I feel like it would have really fumbled and fallen apart, honestly, because you can't stop change, it's kind of bound to happen, and I've kind of slowly learned to, grow up with this sort of knowledge per se that, it's gonna happen eventually at some point, just like with AI, just like with new tech and everything, you can't, you could slow down progress, you can, do what you can to slow it down, but you can't completely halt it, because we as human beings will always innovate for new stuff and will always create stuff, whether it's through actual creativity and heart or just pure utter greed and for money selfish reasons. That's just, it's just how we are, in the end. And you can't completely stop or halt that, at some point. But yeah, I overall really liked Toy Story 5. Excuse me. I overall really liked Toy Story 5. I feel like it was definitely much better compared to Toy Story 4. I I don't know if anyone likes Toy Story 4. I personally don't. And I still don't know, like I said from the beginning or whatever. I don't know if this is better than Toy Story 3 or whatever. I remember when I was 10 years old, when I saw Toy Story 3, and that ending, it honestly made me cry. It still makes me cry, honestly, because of the journey that we went through with Andy and stuff, and, you know, everything that's, happened with them and everything. It's just one of the things that sticks with you, honestly, and God, I miss Andy. Can we get Andy again? I want to know how Andy's doing. We already know how Jesse, Jesse's original owner was doing, because she had a daughter and everything, and how she named her daughter after her, doll and everything. I felt that was very damn sweet. Very sweet and everything. Also, there's like a Bambi reference or some shit in this, which I was not expecting. Because all of these, yeah, these high tech Buzz Lightyears, right? They all go into deep in the woods and they all meet up with this deal, and then literally a rabbit shows up, and then a freaking skunk. And then Love Is a Song That Never Ends just fucking plays. And I'm just like, wait, holy shit, is Bambi actually canon now? Is the freaking Great Prince connected to freaking. Like, is this gonna be a crossover shit now? Like, with freaking the live action Bambi or some shit? Or maybe some point Bambi free and the freaking Buzz Lightyear army shows up again or some shit? Oh, that'd be so freaking awesome. Now that I'm thinking of it. Just have it be like, oh god, just, I don't know, just have it be like sort of like the wood animals defend against the humans, like in I don't know, like in open season or some stupid shit or whatever. But they got the freaking Buzz Lightyear army with them or whatever, and so the hunters whatever get all scared, like how the toys scared the shit out of Sid from freaking. I don't know. Toy Story, yeah, Toy Story 1 or whatever. And it becomes like a little horror scene or some shit or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. but I just found that very, interesting and kind of cute, honestly. I wasn't really expecting that. I don't know if it's a Bambi reference or whatever, but I swear to God, when you put a deer and then a rabbit, which is quote thumper, and then the skunk, which is flower, and then literally the song, love is a song that never ends. Like, you can't get more Bambi than that. I mean, come on, come on. But yeah, I overall enjoyed this film. It was, I know I keep saying it, but this was definitely much better than Toy Story 4. I will say, Pixar, please stop. Okay, this was a good film and all, it really was, but please stop with the damn sequels. I I appreciate, adding in to more stories and everything, but like when we got Incredibles 3 and rumors of a Toy Story 6 and 7 or whatever, like a story, I love stories and everything as much as the next person, but I feel like a good story knows when to stop. A good story knows when to drop it. And I still feel like Toy Story 3, I still feel like Toy Story should have ended at 3, honestly, because, that way it could have just been Andy's, story or whatever per se, and he just moves it on over to the next kid, and that's that, honestly. And I did also like how Bonnie was kind of more involved in the story here with this instead of just like more of a sideline shit like in Toy Story 4. It just, yeah, just cancel Toy Story 4. We don't need to know what happened to Bo Peep. We don't need Keanu Reeves, the Canadian freaking whatever that motorcycle Canadian toy is, or whatever, like, or the big plushy stuffed animals. Like we don't really need some of that shit. Just throw in Woody in with freaking all of the other toy games and stuff, and just eventually just have Bonnie get the lily pad or whatever, and just have that be the Toy Story 4. Instead of 5 here with this here. But yeah, overall, this was a very damn good film. But I'm curious to know, did you folks see this film and what did you folks think of it? I personally really liked it. I also think it's still not as good as Toy Story 3. God, that ending, man. I'm never gonna get enough of that fucking ending. But yeah, this was really not that bad, Pixar. I'm impressed with this. Now, please, for the love of God, please stop. Okay, stop adding more characters. Stop, just end the story already, please. Okay, this was a good film and everything, but Pixar, please, just fucking stop, man. Don't. Well, Toy Story 4 was kind of a disappointment. It sucked, but we're back on the high note again. Now just hold it right there. Don't change anything, please. But they're not gonna probably listen. There's probably gonna be a Toy Story 6 and 7. Before you know it, I'm gonna be like freaking in my 50s or some shit with Toy Story 17 or whatever. Like it's like at some point there needs to be a line, okay? There's gotta be a line. But yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts with this and everything here. But yeah, I really enjoyed this film. But yeah, with all that being said and out of the way, folks, thank you all so much for watching. And I will see you all sooner or later. Bye bye, everyone.